Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today, I thought we'd chat about task management systems. Now, there's loads out there, and I'm not intending to do a deep dive. We're just going to really cover some of the basics. The idea is, let's just get an idea what there is, and then you can go and find, to be honest, what works for you, because they all work in different ways. These systems, they range from really simple, I like simple, through to complex and multifaceted tools. And that's one of the ones I use on a daily basis. The key was I spent a lot of time using a simple tool to get used to working, to get used to the way that I do things before I moved on to that complex tool. The tool I suggest everybody starts with is this. The sticky note. I've always got a load of these on my desk. And even now, a lot of my tasks, a lot of my actions, they start off on a sticky note. I love it. I just take my sticky note, I take my pen. This is where my fountain pens come in really useful. I love using a fountain pen. By using that fountain pen, to me, it adds to the enjoyment. So I want to write more. So all I do is I take the sticky note and I write on there one thought, one action. This is a key one. One action per sticky note. Don't try making a list of one. That's how things get all muddled together. One thought, one note. And yes, that means you're going to end up with an awful lot of sticky notes. And in one respect, that's the weakness of this system. You end up with that many bits of paper laying around on a board that it can get quite cumbersome. And again, you can easily miss things. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to get ourselves used to organising thoughts into actions, capturing very distinct, discrete thoughts. When you're starting to do this, you may be putting things down. I'm going to use a really daft example here. Make a cup of tea. You know, most of us will do that as an action, but it's not. It's a series of actions, isn't it? So essentially, it's a project. So one of the things we have to start thinking about, even with the sticky notes, thinking about what the action means and trying to break it down into smaller steps. That doesn't necessarily have to be done at the time you write it down initially. That then gets into that process phase, doesn't it? This is about collect. But just be aware of it because it's something which we need to have in our mind all the time. As I said, this tool, it's there to let you get going. It's all about capturing. And as I said already, even now, I always keep these on my desk because I often find that's the easiest way to capture a new thought. I'd put it in my in tray, then later on I'll collect that into my actual system. Another good area where sticky notes helps, so you've got a brand new project. I've already mentioned it, the idea of breaking things down. This is where your sticky notes can come in because you can start breaking it down again, one action per sticky note, but it's easy to rearrange them, isn't it? You might come up with ideas and they're all out of order, or you might break things down even further as you're going through, and them sticky notes can be moved around. It's such a good planning tool. I know it sounds really daft, but quite often, basic pen and paper, you can do so much with it. After you've outgrown them sticky notes, that's where we want to get into the realms of software tools. There are hundreds of different tools out there. Some are very simple, some are very complex. Some are free, some are very expensive. What you need to do, though, is to think about what it is you want them for. Is it just for personal projects? You might get away with something that's free. We all love them free stuffs, don't we? Is it a complex project? Are you going to be sharing details with other people? That's where you may be wanting to go into some of these more complex tools. And as I said, they're going to cost money. And they do vary quite widely in the cost. So where do we start? Well, let's start with those personal projects. This is where I honestly think a lot of the time you can get away with some of the free software. One of the ones I find useful, and this is because I use the Apple ecosystem, is Apple Reminders. Now, I'm not sure, but I would expect there'd be something similar for Windows, for Linux, for whatever operating system you use. The Reminders app on Apple, it comes free because it's bundled in with the operating system. It looks very simple, but depending on how you configure it, depending on how you use it, there's actually quite a lot of things you can do with it. It can end up being quite a powerful tool. Another app, this is called Todoist. Now this one is cross-platform. It's web-based, but there's apps for iOS, Windows, all those major platforms. Again, this is a fairly simple tool, and it's got a free level, and then there's subscription levels after that. And each of those levels adds more power, adds more to what you can do with it. But as a starter, Todoist is quite good, and it's very popular. It's one of the ones where you hear a lot about. Remember the Milk? This one was really popular many, many years ago, but it's still there. This is another one. It's web-based. And there are apps available for all the operating systems. Again, it starts off easy, but then lets you add various items which grow the power of it. And these are just for simple things. For personal productivity, there's a number of other tools. Again, just calling out one example because that's what I use. This is an Apple-based system, and it's called OmniFocus, and it's made by a company called the Omni Group. I've been using this about 12 years now. It's very complex to get going. Once you've got it set up, it's actually dead simple to use, but it's one of those tools where you need to understand what it is you want. So originally, it was built to support the David Allen getting things done type system. But how I use it, yes, I still use that idea. I still have the idea of my tags, which is what says what context it's in. I also have tags for importance and urgency. So I'm moving there into the Eisenhower style matrix. That's just how I've configured it. I find that works for me. I know other people, they like that pure GTD system. Again, it works for them. It's a very powerful tool. Now, I've got a couple of screenshots here. The first one, this is showing projects. It's only part of my project list. And for each project, it's showing you the tasks that are still outstanding on that project. The second one, this is what they call a custom perspective. In here, what I do is I just show things that I've tagged as being urgent and important. So I can focus in on those, get them ticked off, and then I might move on to a project, or I might move on to the urgent and not important tasks. It gives me the power to do that by letting me use different views of my data. As I say, this is just one example. There's dozens, if not hundreds of different tools out there. Make sure when you're picking a tool that you're picking one that you can work with. Don't find a tool that you're constantly fighting with. I get on really well with OmniFocus. I know there's other people that don't. That's fine. The tool is fine for me. And again, this is where starting with that pen and paper comes in handy, because you're able to look at how you're going to use it. You're playing around with pen and paper, which costs you next to nothing. You might play around with reminders, costs you next to nothing, before you invest in that highly customizable, highly powerful tool. If you're going to be working with other people, there are tools out there that let you do that. Todoist, I think one of their subscription levels let you assign tasks to other people. But there's lots of others. Some of the ones that come to mind, again, I'm not going to cover them. It's things like Asana, Monday.com, Trello. There's loads of different tools there. As I say, some of them, they're fairly simple. Trello, that's like a Kanban board. Again, you can share tasks with other people though. And then you get into Monday.com and Asana, and the power that they use just goes up and up. Having the right tools is so important. Having the right action management tool, so important. The tool, it needs to let you capture items, organize them, and then start to get work done. As I say, I use OmniFocus. I spend 5 to 10 minutes each day doing my capture and doing my planning. And then I get in, I go into that custom perspective, and I start doing the work, and I can get the work done, know what needs to be done, and see the list of outstanding tasks that I need to be getting on with. So why don't you spend a few minutes now and jot down, what do you want from an action management tool? What are the things that will help you? What are the ways you think you're best to interact with it? As I say, simple, pen and paper, nice for collecting. Gets a bit more difficult when you've got a lot going on. Reminders app, nice and simple, lets you get on with the basics. OmniFocus, very complex, but lets you get fine-grained into what you want to see. They're so important that you're thinking about this and writing it down so you can use that when you're analysing the different tools. If you haven't already got a system going, get out that sticky notebook and get out that pen. Use that. You could use a notebook rather than sticky notes. Problem is with that, it's harder to move things around. That's why I think sticky notes are such a good tool. If you then move into a software tool, brilliant. If you find you're fighting against it, if you find it doesn't work for you, bite the bullet, find another tool. Don't keep fighting, because if you're going to be fighting the tool all the time, you're going to end up that you're not going to use it. Make sure though you can capture, you can organise, and most importantly, do the work. It's all about letting you take control of your actions and deliver the results you deserve. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Have you already got an action management system or a task management system? Why not drop the details down below? Let's share them with other people. Please hit the thumbs up button every time you like, every time you comment. Just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.